Hello. Welcome everybody to episode 6, I believe, of the Unspoken series, where we have unfiltered conversations on the state of sisterhood in the workplace. You know how to start with the dramatics. Now, today, I am super excited for our guest. We have Ngozi Cadmus, and I would love for you to introduce ourselves. I'm sure our audience already knows who you are, but give us a rundown of your many accomplishments, darling.
Oh, hey, thank you, Talisha, for having me. And I am Ngozi Cadmus. I'm the CEO of True Tones, and I'm a psychotherapist and social worker by background. I've had the fortunate experience of helping thousands of individuals from the global majority access accessible and affordable psychological therapies. I'm one of the co-creators of the Black Women's Rest Revolution, helping Black women globally who experience racial trauma and workplace abuse, learn to rest and heal. And also now I am the CEO of True Tones, which is the first and only image generation platform for the global majority. So all things AI, I teach generative AI, I teach people how to code, how to create applications and web apps and websites without coding, AI agents, everything AI without being somebody who's actually technical, because I lead with my heart. I'm a social worker and therapist by heart and by profession. So I work with the global majority, or we say POC entrepreneurs, to master AI, to build smarter systems, faster growth, and easier living. But I also come with mental health expertise, which is why we're having this conversation, especially around women and Black women in particular, about the nature of sisterhood and really what that means, is it, in the workplace, and how that intersects across our life. So that's a bit about me.
Just a bit.
I should say I'm doing my doctorate.
Look at that. Come on.
Women in, I shouldn't, because I just literally started, I was doing my doctoral stuff today, looking at Black women in research, looking at Black women in leadership in the C-suite in the UK. So it's very exciting research. We don't really have that. We don't have research looking at what I'm looking at specifically in the UK. We do have a lot of it from America. So it's about time that we focus on the experiences of what it means to be a Black female, a Black woman in America, so in the UK particularly, and in England specifically.
No, I love that. And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to have this conversation with you, because you can touch on it not only from the mental health side and the psychological side, but then you have AI, and then you have, like, you're very well known for touching on the unspoken truths of the experience of Black women in the workplace. So I'm really looking forward to dissecting all of that. Now, before we start, I have 2 questions that I always ask, which is, the first one is, what does true sisterhood to you in the workplace mean?
That's interesting, because do I believe you can have that in the workplace? That is a question. So I've got to be very honest. I personally don't think that true, and let me say this. I think we can have authentic relationships in the workplace. I think we can. But I think that we'll be naive to think that, I don't believe work is a family. I don't even necessarily believe, you come for friends. You might gain friends, but I don't come in workplace as my colleagues. Now, if I leave workplace with good friends, that's a bonus. But I don't go into the workplace expecting sisterhood. I don't go into the workplace expecting friendship. I go into the workplace to do my job, and as a result of it, to get paid, and hopefully, if I want to, progress through without the barriers, which there is, unfortunately. So what do I define as true sisterhood in the workplace? I'll probably just say what I define as respect. I think there needs to be respect and honesty, but we're going to get into why that isn't the case. So do I believe they can be true sisters in the workplace? Not really. I think there's too many competing priorities, too many interested, too many ulterior motives at play. And it's not because of sisterhood, I'm talking about in general. So brotherhood, sisterhood, any hood. So do I believe they can be true sisterhood, or what is the definition? It's hard to say, because I don't believe in it.
No, I appreciate that, and you've definitely touched on. No, I love it. This is why we're having this conversation. So then the follow-on question that I always ask is, what is your experience of sisterhood been like in the workplace, and how has that fallen short of the ideal which you've made clear you don't believe exists?
So even though I don't believe it exists, I believe you can have a honest and good, authentic relationship within that workplace. So I haven't had massive betrayals in the workplace. If anybody's done anything to me wrong, we weren't friends. I haven't had a situation where I'm like, no. If any drama has happened in my life, it's personal, not necessarily workplace. But that's because I come into it with the right context. We are friendly. You know, I don't. If people tell me their secrets, it's never come out my mouth. No one tell my business. I don't tell my business. So I already understand who and what we are. We can have good relationships in the workplace, and it ends there.
Mm.
Now, does it mean they came to my wedding? I spoke to a work colleague the other day. She asked me how I was. I saw her kids. There is that. If she had an event, I'd go. But in terms of, am I calling her? No, there's nothing wrong. We just didn't develop to establish relationships outside of the workplace. You have to establish it outside of the workplace, and there has to be shared life. Me sharing my work experience with you is not enough. For some people, because they've got a deficit socially, that's why it becomes such a massive social capital for me. It's not a massive social capital for me. So for me, work is what it is. So I haven't actually had negative experiences of feeling betrayed because I understand our relationship. One, I'm an authentic person. So when you're with me, I will give you all of me in the workplace. So I support people in the workplace. And I get that back. So I fortunately have had good experience. Now others haven't, because I think sometimes you just have bad experiences. And two is about, let me preface to say this. I'm talking about my latter career, right? I started working when I was very 16. So now 16, yeah, I did all of the mistakes that many people do. So I learned very quickly that, yeah, friends, we say bedrooms in the UK, friendships don't work, right? So I've had that, but I don't class that right now because it was so young. But pre-21, oh yeah, I've gone through all of those experiences, being called into the office thinking that we're friends, not understanding what people are talking behind my back. But because everybody was older than me, it was a big culture shock, because I thought when I left secondary school
Nope.
to realize that, oh, adults are just like children.
Yeah.
There's all these different cliques. So I think it's because I come from that experience that I did all of that when I was a young person, which I think is expected. But you see people in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s, still going through experiences. And a lot of that has to do with deficits within ourselves. When I say deficit, I don't mean it in a negative sense. I mean that most people, there's something that they need and they want from the workplace that they're not getting maybe in their outside life. I've got good friends, so I don't seek work friends. I'm okay.
No, I love that. And it's so interesting you touched on that initially about expectations and the fact that there's always going to be competing priorities with people in the workplace. So naturally, inherently, sisterhood is it's very interesting. It's a very interesting topic to explore within the workplace. So would you say that as a byproduct of competing priorities, competition or gatekeeping are a natural, they're inherent in the workplace, and they're something unavoidable, in which case, as people going into the workplace, particularly Black women going into the workplace, how do you navigate that, understanding that it's just a part of what it is? Or do you think that is something that we can change?
Well, let me start with this. Sisterhood is difficult outside of the workplace, right? We can all agree
Yeah.
that female friendships gets a bad rap. So building real strong sisterhood is difficult because it's about being selfless, it's about being honest, it's about being clear with what your expectations are. Most people, most relationships, whether romantic or platonic or work, end why? Because we do not speak what expectations is. Oh, I expected you not to do that, but you didn't tell me. But you should know. Am I a mind reader? Right? These are the things that you hear in relationships. You just listen to any podcast. When you really break it down, is expectations. I thought you would do this, but you didn't do this. I expected this. So that's, if that is happening in what we'd call normal social life, that happens in a workplace. What we have in a workplace is that we are all going to get paid. We all want to be seen, because when we're seen, then we're rewarded. What we're rewarded by? Bonuses. We're rewarded with promotions. We're rewarded with just naturally, oh, well done, Talisha, you did really, really well. When you add that, right, and you add the fact that there is risks and rewards, there's punishments, and then there's a payment towards this, right? And our livelihood is attached. Remember, our work is attached to our livelihood. So there's greater stakes. Work is greater stakes. So when you have all of that, plus sisterhood is already difficult already, and people don't articulate their expectations, their wants, their needs to each other, We don't really set out a contract. We just become friends. We don't communicate. This is my boundaries. This is what I like. This is what I do not like. When you get into the workplace, that's the recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
you're coming into people, you're meeting people as a black woman, on top of what black women experience in society. So let's just think about it. Let's put an example, right? I've heard, and when I say heard, I don't mean that I've heard, I've seen it. If I see a black person in the workplace, I am the first to be like, "Hey, girl," but I've witnessed the crap. Oh no, I didn't want to see another black person.
There can only be one of us.
What's going on?
Yeah.
But why? It's because the way that person's been cultured in
Mhm.
society, that it can only be one of us.
Mhm.
There's competition already.
Mm.
There's also fear because, if you become friends with me, then you become that black group.
Perception. Yeah.
There's so many things that
Yeah.
people bring trauma into the. If you don't deal with your trauma in therapy, you're going to bring it into the workplace. You're going to bring it into all of your relationships. Yeah. One of the things that I've recognized about myself, I've been in therapy for 10 years, and it's a good and a bad thing. I don't power play. So what does it mean? I have a very powerful position. So I'm one of the key individuals that in the UK, I section people under the Mental Health Act. They call it committed in America. So I actually have the power to put you in hospital for 28 days or 6 months. Now when I usually go out to do an assessment, I have 2 doctors with me. They're usually always men. And it's been a very interesting dynamic as a black woman, as an African woman, that I actually have the power, but I've always taken a step back. So I allow the doctors to lead, because not in the read where doctors can be very much like, I'm the one leading, even though I'm actually the lead of this situation. Now, this year I decided to stop that and say, I'm taking my power. I've become congruent to say, I'm just going to take it. But the point that I'm making is that because I don't power play, if you and I were in the meeting and you decided to talk over me, I'll let you. I'm not going to be like, oh, but I don't have to do all of that. Because if you cannot be considerate to my needs, I would be considerate to your needs. But not everyone's like that. Everybody wants to get a chance to speak. So what would happen is that, Talisha, you will say something. Oh, I think Carmex is really good for my lips. Someone will say, oh, I don't know if anyone's mentioned it. Carmex is really good for your lips. You're like, but I swear I just said this.
Yeah.
And these are the things that happen. And when you add race and gender to it, this is what happens to black women when they give their opinion. It's like it goes over people's head. Then a white guy or a white woman or even an Asian person can say the exact same thing. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, that's really, really good. So imagine 2 black women in the room now vying for attention. Okay, amongst all of the other people who've got privileges. Oh, you think they're going to be friends if they haven't resolved any insecurities within themselves and they're honest with themselves that, you know what, the reality is you will be pitted against each other, and even if it goes against our detriment, we will not go against each other because we know optics is better. 2, there is a bigger stake at it. There's other black people that will come after us, but people have their livelihoods attached. So it might be better for me to betray you, to talk about you, Talisha, behind your back with other white people, so I can be endeared towards them, so I can get a promotion. Now, people don't think about it consciously. No one's sitting there going, I'm plotting against Talisha. Some do, but no, it's all unconscious. It's all small decisions. Oh, I'm going to go out for pub. Maybe I mean you talking, go, we're not going to go for pub. Next minute, on a Monday, you're keying. And I'm like, why are you keying? Because I swear we don't go out with you people. Oh, we went out to the pub. And I'm like, but why didn't you? I would have gone with you. What, girl? What happened there? And then next minute, you're being iced out of certain conversations. And then a year later, your friend is being promoted. Then when you go to her, girl, like, tell me what you do. Oh, you got to work really hard. And I go, yeah, I'm working hard. So you see where I'm going with it. I'm showing that
absolutely. It's all connected. Absolutely.
It's not this is it and that is it. It's because black women are this. It's not that. People are coming with trauma. Then you've got systemic issues. Then you've just got work dynamics. If you do not know yourself, black women, hear me now. Women, hear me now. If you do not understand what triggers you, what you're bringing into the workplace, it's going to be very difficult to build authentic relationships, one in your life, let alone in the workplace.
Absolutely. So I think it's fair to say that a lot of the issues that we're talking about, as you said, that they're interconnected with so many other issues. So when I think about that, and when I think about previous conversations I've had, a lot of people referring to internal issues or insecurities that that's unresolved in their life. I think it's fair to say then, and I'm sure you would agree, that a lot of the issues amongst Black women and just women in general within the workplace, they're systemic, almost a natural byproduct of the professional culture, as opposed to a natural consequence of personal animosity. And if that's the case, then how is that something that we can really overcome? Is it really down to the individual? Because we all would like to say different organizations, they can put things in place, they have policies, they pay lip service to diversity and inclusion and all these things, but that's clearly not the reality for a lot of people, not the reality for myself. So if it's more of a structural issue and a professional culture issue that is fed into from the unresolved trauma of individuals, what can you really put in place? What guidance can you really put in place for the individual that is navigating a system that's so convoluted?
Well, you may not. I hear you. I think it's both, and I think,
Yeah.
but it goes down to the fact that I work in the same. As a Black woman, I have never knowingly. So if I don't knowingly, I'm sorry. But I know I can stand with my hand on my chest, betray another Black woman or white woman, and this is a bad mind. If you're a bad man, I'm just going to come at you regardless. It's not about betray you, in it. If you come at me, I'll come at you back. Yeah. But I've never gone out of my way to put any Black woman. I've never done that. I don't. So I've never done that, and I work in the same UK society. So it's to do with your integrity. The reality is, Black or what, not everyone's got integrity. This is the reality. I love everything I've listed, and what I do, I support Black people, Black women, Asian people. But doesn't mean everyone's got integrity. I ran a business for several years, and I served predominantly Black and Asian people. Who do you think took me to court and took me to? It was the same people that I serve.
Yeah.
So it's about integrity. Yeah. The reality is that and also it's about knowledge and awareness. One thing I would definitely say is that not many of us are aware of ourselves. All right. I grew up with a lot of colorism, but maybe it's just in my head because I got abused. I wouldn't abuse others. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with others. Some people get abused and they abuse others. So that's the reality. If you've got issues with your sisters, you've got issues with your mother, it's going to spew on other ladies. I don't trust women who say I ain't got any female friends. I find that very weird. I grew up with a lot of men. I grew up with a lot of boys. I was a tomboy, but I've got a lot of girlfriends. I'm able to talk to men and women. Women that don't have friendships with women, you probably are the issue. On a very rare case, maybe you are not, but you probably are the issue.
Ooh.
So I think that the reality is, let's just be very real. There are individuals. I know what my sister. All I want to say when I say things, because we're talking about women, I mentioned a woman, guys. It's not a
Of
woman.
course.
Reality is, none of us has got bad attitudes. We just, I don't. We've got to ask ourselves how you were raised, and also people are carrying trauma that are unresolved. So yes, to answer your question, rather than fighting racism, I'm not sitting here encouraging any woman to say fight sisterhood in the workplace. Bruv, look. That's not really about to fight. Honestly, I think the best advice is you've already got other systemic issues to fight. If you're really feeling that you don't have authentic sisterhood in the workplace, then we've got to rethink how you come into the workplace and what you're seeking for it. What you need to seek when you go into work is to make money. And if you want to navigate the hierarchy to get there, why are you looking for bedrooms? Looking for friends? I'm not understanding. Why are you going to work for friendships and sisterhoods? You see what I mean? So I'm saying that I've reconfigured that because that's not our biggest fight in the workplace. Our biggest fight is being equitably treated. That's our biggest fight. But if you want to deal, if you are hearing me and you're like, I've got issues with people in the workplace, and you genuinely believe it really isn't yourself, then take some time of reflection. Is that the best place for you to be? Because though I don't think you come into workplace for friends, I'm not suggesting to be in a workplace that you're not liked and stay there. It's not, you're there for most of your time, 9 to 5, 8 to 6. It's not a good place. It's not a good environment to be in. I've been in that where I was bullied in the workplace, and that was the most depressed year of my entire life. So I don't encourage that, but I do want to push against this innate desire for sisterhood in the workplace. However, I think that there are authentic people in the workplace, but you have to be authentic first. So if you're not authentic yourself, why are you asking for what you don't have?
Yeah. Authenticity, it starts with the self and then it trickles out as a natural byproduct. So if we
Yeah.
reshape, let's reframe the conversation then. Let's say, how would you say intersectional identities then influence your ability to build authentic relationships as opposed to just focusing on sisterhood? how in your experience, you definitely focus on a lot of the experiences, the unspoken experiences, particularly of Black women within the workplace. Now, within this entire structure of inequity, how do intersexual identities
Ooh.
influence?
So I may or may not answer the question right. What I would say this, what I think I'm getting from your question. As a Black woman, you need to understand your currency in the workplace. I'm a dark-skinned, slim Black woman. What does that mean? If I was a dark-skinned, more bigger Black woman, what does that mean? If I'm a light, you have to understand your currency in the workplace. Same way I tell my clients, you know your sexual currency when you leave out. You've got to understand how you're perceived by society. I'm perceived from 22, 23 years old, I was perceived as a very strong-willed Black woman. Before that, I don't know, people perceived me. I didn't think I was definitely a pushover in the workplace. I was getting bullied in the workplace. But after 23, I'll never forget the day I told one white lady to basically don't ever speak to me. I was shocked. I was like, I finally defended myself in the workplace. After that year,
I've let up for too long.
that was a new Ngozi. But so when people even mention me, oh yeah, Esther, Ngozi is very, very strong and very hard. I'm like, that's an interesting perspective. So I already know that when I come into the workplace, also I'm also young because I'm always the youngest in the workplace. So, but people don't think I'm that young. People are shocked. They assume I'm older, not as in like way older, but they assume. So, for example, I'm 30. How old am I? 34. People might assume I'm 40 because most people that I'm working with are in their 50s and 60s. So when I say, oh, I'm only they're like, oh, you come across so mature. So if you don't understand how you're perceived, you can't work for or against it. So what do I mean by that? What I'm trying to say is that when you think about the mammy, so the Black woman usually mothers everybody and makes sure does the coffees and remembers everyone's birthdays, or the Jezebel, maybe you're perceived very sexually in the workplace, you get unwarranted sexual advances. You're the angry Black woman. If you're assertive, people are scared of you. You're getting accused of doing this and that. And I think there's one more that just probably gone from my head right now. The point is, you have to understand how you're perceived in the workplace, and either decide that you want to work with that or not work with that. So some people position themselves as the mammy because that is the role that they inherently take both in their family and in all groups and in the workplace. That may or may not benefit them. It just depends on the workplace, right? Sometimes it does benefit them and they go up the ladder. A lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times when you're a mammy in a workplace, you become the mule and you end up being overworked, undervalued, and have high blood pressure. High blood pressure, yeah, and come with high cholesterol. That's why a lot of our parents have diabetes because they're doing a lot more than what they're getting paid to do. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So when I think of your intersectional identity, same if you're an Asian woman, right? A lot of South Asian, so India, Pakistan, they're seen as very like docile and submissive. So people can't perceive them as assertive leaders. It's like, I don't really see you in this way. So you being my boss is quite uncomfortable. Some people will find it very uncomfortable to be managed by even a Black Muslim with a hijab. That would be like, we got to be real with these kind of conversations. Then we have interesting dynamics between Asians and Blacks. Some of my most racist encounters in the workplace have been with Asians. Let's speak on it. It's not just to whites. It's Asians, whites, Asians, and Black. Let's be very real. And Black women are right at the bottom. Yeah. So I'm saying all of these different things to say that you've got to know how you're perceived, and you've got to ask yourself, do you want to be perceived that way, or do you want to change that? And now I don't mean that in a code switching way. I mean first in the, why am I going out of my way to remember everyone's birthdays and to do all of this and to do all of that? What is that benefiting me? Is it because I got a people pleasing? Is it because I'm entering that stereotypical role as a Black woman? What is that reason? Sexual advances is a very complicated one. That one is not to say that if you get unwanted sexual advances is your fault, but if you've been positioned as the sexy kind of untouchable Black woman, what is that? Is there are you a pick Misha? Let's just be real. Are you pick Misha? Do you like male validation? Have you got bare work? What is that? Is it because you know that you got sexual currency, so you use that to get up? Like, we just got to be real about these type of conversations, right? So if you don't know yourself, don't know how you present yourself and how you're perceived, then you're not going to understand how your intersectional identity implicates itself within the workplace, with white people, with Asian people, with other Black women. If me, we're both quite dark skinned, right?
Mm.
If a light skinned girl comes into the room, the dynamic shifts to a degree,
Yeah.
depending on how that light skinned girl positions herself, right?
Mm.
And if she's ambiguous, if she's light, we know we can sometimes tell you're black, but
You,
some people will
you
be
got
thinking like,
something
oh,
else in there.
where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm just black. No, 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 no. Where are you? And so, but
Oh,
if
yeah.
she
Yeah.
towards whiteness,
Mm.
it's like, oh, there's only two black people in the room, but actually there's technically three. This is, I've got a person who told me that in a particular group, there's actually three black people, but when they count the black people, they only count two because one of the person black, they're blackity black. They've counted themselves as non-black. But they are so when they count the black people, they only count two, but there's three black people in this group
Mm.
because the person doesn't want to identify as black.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. So then that is so interesting because I think it's something that we're all subconsciously aware of when you go into certain spaces, but to have it spelled out, it's kind of uncomfortable because then that forces you to face the reality. Or one, how are you positioning yourself? But then two, is that something you want to play into to potentially advance your career or make a conscious decision to actively work against the way you're perceived, which could have negative consequences in terms of how you build authentic relationships in the workplace and potentially the trajectory of your career. So, as you mentioned, as a dark skin girl, my experience is usually I'm slender, I look young for my age. Usually, when I go into environments, they assume I'm the paralegal and not like the lawyer. So there's lots of layers there, and then it's a decision
Talisa,
of yeah,
so it's up to you. So when you know that you've got a decision to make, do
yeah.
you make yourself look older? Do you
Mm,
change your voice? You put a bass in your voice?
mm.
How do you dress? And you may say, I don't care, I'm going to be how I am, and it is what it is. Or you might
Then you
say,
suffer the
no,
consequences.
I
Yeah.
want to change aspects of myself. And
Mm.
I'm saying it's not a good or bad thing. I'm just saying you
Yeah,
now
absolutely.
are aware of it. What do you do with that information? Right?
Mm,
And do you do it? Are you changing it to get ahead in your career, or are you
mm,
changing it just so that you feel more? So these are all of the things. But like you said, you need to know it to be
mm.
able to make certain decisions. The issue is people don't know it, but they're acting unconsciously based on information they are receiving, but they want to be fully aware of why and what they are doing.
Mm. And the natural byproduct of that, again, it affects your ability to develop authentic relationships, or if you want genuine relationships in the workplace or sisterhood, is your if that is your desire in the workplace, then because you don't know yourself, it's hard to do that, to achieve that. So again, everything has a ripple effect. And it's interesting you mentioned whether or not you want to play into it and the effect that has on your career, because I think that's always a concern, especially as women, particularly as Black women, the desire to get ahead. How do you reconcile the need for like individual career advancement with collective advancement as a race, as Black women within the workplace? Because it often feels as though you have to choose between one or the other, and that's exactly where we were saying before that in the importance of intersectional identities and how you choose to position yourself, that all comes into play. Well, what are your thoughts on that? How do you reconcile those, or is it not something you can reconcile, in which case you have to pick a side?
I think you pick a side. I think you just have to hold that tension. So
Oh,
what do I
explain.
mean?
Mm,
Okay. Let's say you're in a company of a couple hundred people. There's a
mm,
percentage of 10%. There's 400 people. There's 40 black people. Say half of that is black women, black men, and you, Talisha, are going up the ranks really well. You work hard. Like it's a deserved promotion, right? But you very much about like bring us together, and you've got half of let's just use black people in general rather than separate them. So the 39 other black people, maybe out of the 39, only 10 are like very like they're good. When I say good, I mean like they work hard and they're good. And you got the other you're trying to help. They don't really help themselves. All of the stereotypes that we try to fight against, they play into that, right? So when you're trying to help them and support them, but then you realize that you know what? Let me focus on the 10. What will happen? There will be naturally separation. Then I'm not going to match. So the 10 out of the 39, the 29, when you guys meet, say, oh, you guys have sold us out, or you guys don't help us. And it's like, but wait a minute. For the first year and a bit, We were doing all of these different free meetings, and we were doing all of this type of stuff. When I decided that I can no longer put my labor for free because everything I'm giving you, you're not implementing it, and maybe you do a charge, and now it's like, oh, I'm not going to pay 100 quid, but you're like, you can go to Magaluf, for whatever on your credit card. The point I'm making is that what tends to happen is that the people that are not helping themselves can't see that, and they expect you to help them regardless of what they are doing. And when you begin to separate yourself from that and focus on those that are willing to do the work, the people that are not willing to do the work start blaming you. And if you're so in this, I need to help everybody, you can make the big mistake in trying to help people who end up hanging you. So you have to be okay and realize you can't help everybody, and you have to put people in position. So for the people that you will never help themselves, you can offer them, like, how you do your ERG meetings, come to that. But the people that you're willing to spend time and willing to invest in themselves, those are the people you add extra investment in. But even that, you still are careful, because the same people you help can come back and stab you in the back. So how I advise people is that I hold everybody loosely, meaning that I don't expect you to betray me, but I wouldn't be surprised if you did. Why? Because people are human. Human beings are inherently selfish. If you said to me, I'm not saying you, but you said to me, I'm going to be there for you, I'm going to back you up, or I'm going to back you, maybe something happened in the workplace, I'm going to back you up. And that same person is in a meeting with all of the board of directors, and they're saying, basically, are you going to defend me? You might get scared and wet yourself and put, and basically you might not defend me, because when it really came to it, you thought about your job and you realized that I've got bills to pay, I've got kids to feed, and if I defend you, I might be out of this job. That's really when it comes down to it. So why do we have this expectation on people? So what I go back to the tension is attention. Sometimes you will make a mistake, help the person, and they will betray you. Sometimes you help somebody, and that person you help will help you when they go over there. Sometimes you just don't know. So the question is, why are you doing it? If you're doing it to get something back, if you're doing it because you want to help people, just do it to help people. But just be mindful. Be careful of not doing it from don't withdraw, don't give from an empty cup. Be boundaried in how you give. So what I would say is that you have to hold attention. Sometimes you do a little bit more, sometimes you pull back. It's a balance. I don't mean it's a balance that you got balance. I mean it's a constant dance. So you might go to one job and it's amazing, and all of the people you support and help love you. You go to another job and you're the sellout, and you're the coon, because that's life. So I wouldn't say that it's something that can be reconciled like that. That it will you be always aligned. I will say that you've got to ask yourself your positioning. In the research that I have done, majority of the Black women say that they are able to help people once they've put themselves in a certain position and they now have stake in the game. When they're trying to climb up that ladder, I might got to say, you better get off my what was it? You better get off my ankle. But once I hit that place, I'm going to help you, because it's hard to carry somebody when you're trying to carry yourself. The issue is when you get up there, do you bring the ladder down? So that's what I mean. I think that it's a very nuanced conversation. I don't think it's a black and white issue. I think that the reality is that everybody's trying to live. And when people are trying to live and stakes are high, when it really comes to it, people most of the time will choose themselves, and that is the reality. The few of us that will actually put our neck out for other people because of our integrity, we are few and far between. So know that. So know that if you do put your neck out for somebody, you're doing it because you just decide to do it, not because you expect it back. Because the reality is, maybe the only person you should really expect things back should be from family, and even that, we can't. Right? In life, we've been betrayed by our family. So if we're being betrayed by our own parents, by our own siblings, why do we expect that we're not going to probably be betrayed by human beings that we didn't share a womb with?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And again, going back to, and this goes back to the reason why I started this series to begin with, having that understanding and that mindset, that the healthy approach going into the workplace, because understandably, a lot of us, we have these expectations. If I work hard, I will be recognized for my work, and things will go this way. It shouldn't matter about my skin. Admittedly, I was one of those people that believed for a while, I don't want to be seen as a Black lawyer. I just want to be seen as a lawyer. And I quickly realized over the last few years the how unhealthy that understanding was. It's hard to make separation in that, because even if I enter certain spaces, while I want to be appreciated for the quality of my work, my race, my identity, the way I'm perceived in certain spaces is something that you simply can't run away from. So having that understanding of how you're perceived and having realistic expectations going into the workplace, realizing that most of these things aren't personal. Oftentimes, how people interact, how women interact with other women, whether it's with gatekeeping or competitiveness or microaggressions, oftentimes it's a symptom of an internal issue that is magnified by cultural issues in the workplace, that is amplified by systemic issues both outside the workplace, which reinforces things in the workplace. And when you have that
That's it.
understanding and that
Mm-hmm.
new mindset going
You
into
can
the
sleep at night.
workplace, what did you say?
But you can sleep at night. You
You can sleep at night,
can sleep at
absolutely,
night.
and it doesn't.
Yeah.
You don't get shell shocked as much as I was when I first had my first legal position. I was shell shocked because I thought I would have mentorship. There would be union. You would recognize me, and you wouldn't see me as competition. You laugh. I learned a lot. And then you would see me as your fellow black woman, and you would
Yep.
help me and we would grow together. Instead, the competition, as you mentioned before, is there can only be one of us in these spaces. And so having this mindset that you've so eloquently put out is so useful for young people in general, but particularly young black women entering the workplace, so they don't have these unhealthy expectations and they know how to effectively navigate these dynamics.
Can I give the other side though? So
Mm,
some people are just tired. You got to
mm.
think about where I think you might be Gen Z or older millennial. I can't remember. I don't know. I can't remember now. But you're
Just a bit.
millennial Gen Z. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're one of them ones that's trying to be millennial. Okay. I'm a real millennial, guys. Yeah, real core millennial. Okay. The Gen X's and then the baby boomers. Some
Mm,
people are tired. Some people are so there's also that as well. Some black women have like because you got to flip it. Some black women have had that everyone they've helped has betrayed them. So when you now come, like, oh, and you are the one that will never betray them. They don't know that. They don't know that. They said the last person they helped, they're not going to do it anymore. Then you come along, bushy eyed. I'm not going to do this, and they look at you and they're like, I would
teach the
love to, but
world.
I ain't doing it exactly. I ain't
Yeah.
doing it. So sometimes people are exhausted and tired because you got to think about it. Being a black woman means I represent all black women for some reason.
Mm,
Being a black woman in what I don't see it as a burden. I don't. But there are times where it's like, wow, maybe I was raised like that. When I'm in a position, I help. And some people
mm,
don't have that burden. Like, I actually think, wow, how do you just go through life not feeling to help others? Like, no, I'm like, okay, it might be good. How does that feel? Right? I'm used
mm,
to just being like this. I don't know how any other way to be, right? But I've gotten to a
mm,
point where I do it in a healthy way. But some people are tired. Some people are genuinely tired and they just can't help you anymore. They don't want to because you do have to understand talking to leaders in the C-suite, black women who have made it into C-suite, yeah, they are fighting for themselves. So to fight for you and others,
it's hard.
it's a lot. It's draining.
But
And if
isn't
you're
that,
not helping
yeah.
yourself, there we
Yeah.
go.
No, I was just saying, isn't that necessary? That because I appreciate that you're saying that it's almost the burden. The word burden has a negative connotation, but it's an extra expectation almost that we have to fight for ourselves because and other people. Because if we don't, then waiting for you to get to the top before you can fight to us along the way, a lot of other black women may not make it long enough for you to get to the top for you to help them. So whilst it may be an extra expectation, isn't it a necessary expectation that we put on black women more so than other races? Because who
Yeah,
else is going to
you
do
said,
that for us if we don't do it for ourselves? Yeah.
well, it depends on how you see it. So, as someone who's a Christian, when the Bible says, for those that are not, but the Bible says something that Jesus says to us, my burden, your burden is heavy, my burden is light. So when we take God's burden, He makes it light. So even if it feels heavy, we've got the Holy Spirit holding us up.
Mm,
So I use biblical principles to understand the world.
mm,
If I'm carrying the burden of the black women in my company, but my sponsors, the white people, are not holding me up, then that is a boulder on my back.
yeah.
But if I'm carrying the burden of the black woman in my company and I have got good, strong white allies, then it's lighter.
Mm, okay.
Does
So
that make sense?
yeah,
About it. So is not so we have to understand that some black women, if a white black woman has no ally, they are an island. You want an island to help other islands. How does that make sense?
Mm.
But if that island has ships around it, meaning that they have the allies around it,
Mm.
oh, they can carry you easier because if they get hit, the white allies come to their defense. So as they're getting hit for you, they're getting the white people are getting the hit as well, and they're able to say, "Don't do that. No, we don't do that here. She's an excellent worker." If they do not have, basically, if no one's holding their back, they will, if they're holding the backs of other black people, their back will eventually break. That's what we're
Mm.
not considering here. So I'm not denying that we should expect it because what else do we have? But what has happened is that we have black women in particular in the boardroom on their own with no backup. Then when they come to meet other black people who they're supporting, all they hear is, "But you haven't done this for me. You haven't done that. You haven't done that. You haven't done that." One day they will break, and then when they break, what are you going to do then?
Mm. It's
So
about
yes,
holding grace, yeah.
we
Absolutely.
need
So it's about holding space for both of those realities, giving them
all
grace
can
whilst
be
not
yes,
excusing unhealthy behaviors, but still
correct.
appreciating that the space they're in is unique.
It
And
is unique.
yeah, and that should be
You
factored into
recognize
how we respond to
so black
them
women,
maybe not getting the response we want. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
black women who are in leadership, make sure you have allies or people that stand in solidarity with you to protect you. Because if
Mm,
you are taking people on your back, you're getting hit,
mm,
but you need others to get hit with you. If no one else is getting hit with you, how much hits can you take? How many times can you go to the A&E? How many times can you get stitches?
mm. Yeah.
Then, if you are black people in the workplace, this is the reality is you know it. You've probably got colleagues that are black, white, yellow, whatever, and they're rubbish. Let's not lie. Some people are
Mm,
just not good at their job, black, white, or whatever. So
mm,
if you are black and you're not good at your job, you're not helping yourself, you're coming late, like you're just not presenting yourself. Oh yeah, you're making it harder for me. You
mhm.
make it harder for me. If you're a black person and you're unwilling to be teachable, you're unwilling to learn, you're not humble. These are all. This is not again. Remember, that's an issue for everybody. But we're talking about black
Yeah.
people here.
Specifically
If
black
you
people.
have that, you make it harder for me.
Mhm.
So this is the reality. That's the reality that a lot of people have. And I'm talking to leaders at the highest level. They see, as an employer, I employ people, right?
Mm,
What? Let me tell you something very funny. As I said, I ran a mental health service,
mm,
and it was primarily for the global majority. So majority of the therapists that I had were from the global majority. So when an Asian lady called me one time, she didn't. I don't think she didn't know that I was black. So she felt that when she applied for the role, she didn't get it, and maybe it just happened to be that one or two white people that she knew got it. So she basically led this whole half an hour conversation to say, "Oh, basically, I think it's racist." I said, "Oh, do you know who you're speaking to?" She went, "No." I said, "Oh, it's Ingozi." She went, "Oh, okay." I said, "Go on my website, check the picture." She was like, "Oh." I said, "So, can you explain to me why you think it's racist?" She was like, "Oh," but I said to her, "Look, let me be very honest with you. The application was bad. It was just that. It was really bad. Like I saw it. You applied twice. It was bad the first time, and it was bad the second time. The point that I'm making is that she couldn't see that she put a bad application in, and because she didn't get it as an Asian lady, and she saw maybe other two white people get it, she went to an assumption, which is, I totally get why, that it was racist, but she didn't
mm,
research the company she was applying to, because the company she was applying to was run by a black woman, and all of the leadership is black.
mm. Yeah.
So we judged based on purely it was a really bad application. So the
Mhm,
reason why I'm saying that is that she is dangerous because let's say actually was white and it wasn't because she was Asian, it was because of bad application. She's
mm,
the type of person that will cause issues and call people racist and say all of these different things when it's because you put in a bad application. So we have black people in a workplace towards each other. So let's just go back to sisterhood, right? We have black people coming into the workplace. Someone asked a question who don't understand the trauma that they bring. One of the biggest issues of sisterhood is that majority of us have unresolved issues with our mothers.
mm,
So if you have unresolved issues with your mother, how can you develop true sisterhood with another woman? If you've got unresolved issues with your siblings, how can you resolve? How can you have true sisterhood? How can I help you, Talisha? Right? Let me give you an example. Me, Jackie Abrams and Ruth Abatten have come together as Black women on LinkedIn, right? We all met on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Mm.
We all are in the very similar spaces. We all have similar clients. Some of the clients that work with Ruth work with me. Some of the clients that work with me work with Jackie. But there is no competition. I constantly refer people to Jackie. People come to me for things and say, no, Jackie's better to do it. People come to Jackie, she says, Ngozi's better to do it. People come to me, go to Ruth. When companies come out to me to do racial stuff, I could do it, but I say, Ruth is much better. That's her more of her expertise. Ruth do it. She gets paid, I get paid. That happens because we're secure within ourselves. And we are okay that even though we're within a similar industry, we can all win. Because when Ruth wins, I win. When Jackie wins, I win. But that's because I believe in abundance.
Mm.
That's because I genuinely believe that Black women, we are amazing. And if you
Yeah.
understand sales and if you understand the way money works, there's enough money for all of us. But
Mm.
when you have been brought up in a scarcity, when you've had maybe selfish parents, so many different factors contribute to this. Are you telling me that another lawyer can say to you, there's a job, I think I would be good at it, but I can't apply for it right now because I'm pregnant. Tanisha, you go for it. What they will do is like, oh, it was a job that you could have gone for, Okay, apply.
Gatekeep.
Oh, it's past the time. Why are you telling me about it after what? How do you?
Gatekeep.
When
Yeah.
you apply,
Mm.
why didn't you tell me about it? Now I
Yeah.
would do that if I had a job. I'll be like, "Oh, Tanisha, go through it." Oh, I'll be like, "Baby, we'll both go through it. Whoever gets it, gets it. Like, whoever wins, wins." Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you get it, when another
Mm.
opening, bring me through.
Mm. That's that, again, abundance mindset. Again, back to the individual and how if you don't deal with yourself, your
That is it.
expectations in the workplace can be warped, and therefore how you show up in the workplace can be warped. Everything has a ripple effect. That's right.
Felicia,
Yeah.
simple. And there was a very simple thing: half glass full, half glass empty. I
Mm.
genuinely see the good in people, but I don't see the good in people out of fault, nor am I naive. But I
Mm.
tend to think positive first. Now, because I've done, so to ask the question, how did I get here? Rhonda, you get here through years of therapy. Is people hear this, but honestly, therapy is one of the best things that happened to me because it's helped me understand my child.
Mm.
It's helped me understand my adult. It's helped me understand my parent, meaning that within myself, I'm a child, adult, and a parent. I had a parent. I have parents. Well, I have one parent, right? I understand what triggers me. One of the biggest triggers that I have. So let's say we were in a group, like let's say just you were interviewing me, so I can talk. But let's say there's three of us. One of my biggest pet peeves has been spoken over. Why? Because I used to be very quiet when I was younger and not feel like I was seen. And wanted to make sure I was seen. And once I resolved that with myself, I don't care about seen. I'm very considerate because I've already got a strong presence. I'm always very much like I don't want to overshadow people. So I will naturally not I wouldn't dim my light. I mean that I will just humble myself a little bit to make sure we all go. Because when I don't talk or I talk, people see me. So I'm okay with that. But what happens is that people don't do the same thing. I know it, but it's an irritation. So when somebody is like, let's say you ask me a question and someone goes, oh, I'm like, the question was asked for me. Now I won't now overtalk them. But what might happen if you don't clock it as an interviewer, you would just be like, but I swear that question was for me. You would just continue asking them questions. And maybe in the whole podcast, I spoke only a few minutes, right? And I'll be sitting there going, oh, I know it's a trigger with me. So what happens when in those situations, I sit there and thinking, okay, what do I do? I might say, oh, can I speak now? Just want to, I will do things like that to make sure I take up space. Whereas maybe 10 years ago, I would be so angry. I won't show it. I'll be so angry. I'll just cry and, I'll be really annoyed. And then I just, I feel like I'm rubbish. That is what happens when you don't know what's going on. But when you are aware of it, I might be irritated in the moment, but I go, you know what? That's just that way that person is. They know the person. Maybe they can't help themselves. I can't make them consider me. So I need to take up my own space. So if you're not aware of that, you'll just be vexed and annoyed, or you might then just overtalk them, and then you have a whole interview of you trying to have you ever seen that before, where
Yeah.
everyone's trying to talk to you, what's going on? People are getting triggered. So many things are happening. Someone's like, I gotta take up space. Some people are like, I don't want to be seen. So many things are happening. But if people are more self-aware, they could just be like, well, I'm not liking that I'm being spoken over, but what I will do is once there's a pause, or I might say, so can I just interrupt here because I really want to say something? Just, and the person might go, oh, sorry, I know I'm over speaking, sorry. And then you're able to take up that space. But if you're not aware enough, all you're doing is going to get triggered and get vexed. And then at the end of the day, leave an interview without showing up. And then maybe you're not seen and maybe you don't get the job. because it's a group interview and you didn't show that you have the knowledge because you allow somebody to talk over you. And rather than say it, speak up, you got vexed. So that's the difference, Rhonda, with somebody who has therapy, who will still get triggered. I still get triggered by it. The difference is I know why I'm being triggered. I don't take it personally. And I make a decision. Do I recoil or do I take up space?
Oh,
So
yeah,
sorry about that.
and that's fine. That's fine. And I think you've definitely touched on some practical ways that you can navigate the workplace, because we touched on the dynamics that work in the workplace, your response in the workplace. What are some other practical tips you can give for Black women, particularly women in general,
Sorry,
navigating?
1 minute. Well, I need to open the door. So sorry. So sorry. Need to open the
That's all
door. Is
right.
that okay?
Yeah, that's
Apologies.
okay.
Sorry.
That's good. That's all right. I'm not sure how many of you have joined us so far. I haven't been looking at my phone, but whoever's logged in, I hope you've enjoyed the conversation so far. I'd love to know what. Oh, are we back already? We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I was just filibustering. Yeah. So, yeah, I was just gonna ask you. You've touched on a few practical steps that you can take when you're in those situations. One, self-awareness is so important. Everybody says they're self-aware. The most unself-aware people think they're self-aware, which is the problem in and of itself. But actually being self-aware, doing the work, understanding dynamics in the workplace, and knowing your position within the workplace, and making a conscious decision if you want to play into it or make an active decision to fight against it. Now, when you're in certain situations, what are some other practical tips you can take as a Black woman to navigate those situations? You mentioned finding the balance, knowing when to fall back and when to assert yourself. You also mentioned understanding workplace politics, like, excuse me, I like to jump in here, or I'd like to piggyback off of that, those common things in the way. What are some other practical tips you would say as a Black woman to navigate those workspaces, to cultivate authentic relationships, but also position yourself in a way where you are seen, your work is valued, uh, regardless of your race, which is of course always a factor.
So you have to speak up. And if you're scared of speaking up, then you've got to practice it. Whether it's in the mirror, if you've got some friends, you've got to do it. Like literally, I have to practice. So I made a concerted effort this year to take up leadership back as a person. Because like I said, I went through, in many other spaces I lead, but when it came to some of my work when I do some social work, I took a back seat behind the doctors. And there were many things for that I do, but I think part of it was there was an uncomfortability because these are usually men, and I had to really reconcile that idea. And older, I'm always the youngest. I'm usually younger to be as young as their children. So I've always had that kind of weird thing of like, how do I really navigate this? I just said, you know what, I need to get over it, because I actually end up being irritated. So I'm like, what's the point of ending up being irritated? Take up space. So what I did,
All the time, yeah.
I remember the day I practiced it. So before I went out to do this assessment, for example, I practiced what I would normally say. Hi, Talisha, my name is Ngozi. I am your approved mental health professional. The reason why I'm seen. So I do that anyways, but I decided, you know what? I'm going to do that. So I speak, I come in, I take the lead, and I ask the first few questions, I set the scene, and then I say, over to you. Oh, it sets the pace brilliantly. Now, sometimes you see when the doctor tries to, take space, and that time I'm fine. Whereas before, what I would do is when I would come in, make sure everyone's settled. In that 2 or 3 seconds, the doctor might come in and start speaking first, and then I've allowed that person to take position. So it just means I've got to be a little bit more practiced. But I practiced it in the mirror. And then when I first did it, I was like, oh, second time, it didn't go so well. I said, the doctor took over. So I was like, okay, how do I deal with a personality that's really a bit more forceful? I'm like, I probably will just sit back, or I will actually say, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'll think of, I'll ask ChatGPT. I'll say, how do I say, because I come from a particular area in London, so I don't know how to sometimes use soft languages. So I might be like, excuse me. I'm like, and I never want to embarrass anybody within like in a professional environment. I don't do that. I don't publicly shame. So I'll probably ask ChatGPT, how can I tell somebody to basically be quiet without saying to be quiet? And there might be, I can't think of one, but I would love to just ensure that we can all have space to speak. I can do that.
I
That's what
love
I mean. Some things is just practical. So that's what I would say to black women. If you're asking yourself, how do you shop in an interview? How do you shop in this meeting? You practice it. You won't always get it right, but at least try. At
Mm,
least try. And that's what me admitting that's what I am learning to do myself in this particular area. And
mm,
every single year, every single month, you're going to have an area where you improve. I've done 10 years of therapy. Who would have thought still in 10 years I still had an issue of showing up fully as a leader, right? But it now became a bother to me this year, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to deal with it because I've been thinking about this for so long now. And I've had too many experiences, but especially when I'm with men, where I just feel like I've got to, do you get what I mean? And it's like,
mm.
what's going on? Nothing to do with attractiveness. I don't really care. They're all old daddies. So it's nothing to do with like, oh, because they're good looking. It's nothing to do with that. So what
Yeah.
is going on? And it's because, oh, when I haven't got a dad as well. So I wasn't brought up in the household with a man constantly in my life as well. Does that make sense? So these are all of
Mm,
the things that I will talk to my therapist about. I'll say, okay, what is going on there? Is it because I ain't got a dad? How do I operate? Majority of the relationships with men when I was younger have been negative. So these are all of the things that you have to go through. But the
mm,
issue that I would say that as black people we have difficulty with is being honest with us. Like we hold a lot of trauma and pain, both intergenerationally. So
mm,
I totally get it. I come with all of this with empathy. So, but until we begin to do the work, guys, until we begin to heal ourselves and heal and confront ourselves, and actually, you know what? Let me say this sentence. It's be funny. You have to be some. I've got a good personality, so I know that my personality, generally speaking, whether you put it in a white body, in a
mm,
black body, in the Asian body, is naturally liked. Some people haven't got that. They're not bad people, but we've all met people who are like, oh boy,
yeah.
they just got a
Human.
they're
Yeah.
lovely, they'll be there for you, but their personality is just a little bit very off,
Mm,
right? You just got to be honest with yourself. I know
mm,
that I've got a born personality. Some people,
mm,
if you haven't got a personality, good one, what do you have? Maybe you're maybe you're gruff, but you are a person who will show up for people. So we've got to find strengths within ourselves. We can't all be extroverted. We can't
mm,
all be a yapper. We've all got different strengths. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Some people, I've got good friends that are very detailed. Don't give me your paper to read, innit? Don't give yeah, I will high level. Yeah, it's really good. Give it to Ruth. Ruth will be like, "Oh, I see this error." I'll be like, "Ruth, how did you see that?"
mm,
You legal people have got good minds. You come from a legal background. I don't see the things that you see, so you have
mm,
to play in your strengths. But it all goes back to self awareness. I think if I was to answer your first question, how do we define authentic or true sisterhood? I would say to really develop true sisterhood, be it in a workplace, be it in relationships, you have to begin to know yourself.
mm.
Can you be a sister to yourself? And if you can parent your inner child, love your inner child, you can be a good sister to other people, be it in a workplace, be it outside of the workplace, because you can only get what you give, and you can only really give what you have.
Mm. I love that. It's a beautiful full circle moment. Definitely love how you connected all, making my job a lot easier to summarize the whole conversation, Ngozi. Definitely when I think about how the conversation started and my idea of sisterhood and tying it into all these different elements, it's so refreshing to see the connection between everything and how you can't be separated. One of the points that really stuck out to me is how you're talking about holding tension, holding tension for your discomfort in certain situations, holding tension for how you may be perceived and versus how you want to be perceived, holding tension for wanting to receive support and mentorship from Black women within the workspace, but also having an understanding that that may not always show up when you want it to and how you want it to, and holding grace for the fact that they are also having dealing with their battles whilst also not excusing bad behavior such as gatekeeping and competitiveness. So when you look at all of that, I think it's a good note to end on, understanding the mindset, the techniques you have going into the workplace, particularly as a Black woman, because once you come from that perspective, and you're just looking introspectively, a lot of the other issues that come up when it comes to authentic relationships, it puts it all into perspective, and you're just so much better positioned to navigate the world as your authentic self, which will lead to authentic relationships and hopefully sisterhood if that's what you
And
want it to
last
be.
point, I mean, you've got to
So
answer. I know some questions. So even that's all that I said. So sometimes I play devil's advocate sometimes, or should I say angel's advocate. You can develop authentic relationships in the workplace if there is no competition, there's a genuine desire to see each other win, and you're secure. You can be secure in yourself, but be honest if there's envy. So that's another conversation about another day, right? There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
being envious. Is what you do with that envy, I believe, because most people, like, if your
Mm.
friend is getting married and you've been wanting marriage and you got a friend who didn't care, next minute she meets a guy, next to get married, you might be like, I'm so happy for you, but I do wish it was me. There's nothing wrong with, but the issue is we don't want to be truthful. So what we do, we start displaying bad behaviors. We don't go to the bridal shower, all of these different things because we're not honest with ourselves,
Yeah.
right? So I say that to say that you can develop real relationships within the workplace, but all of those things you have to do the work on yourself. And when you do it on yourself, you'll be able to see those who've done it in themselves. And then like attracts like. It might be one person in the workplace that you meet in all of the workplaces that you genuinely develop, and or you might have authentic timed relationship. I've had authentic relationships that have only lasted in the workplace, and that is fine. And I have valued that.
Yeah.
And when I look back on those memories, they're beautiful, but we don't continue outside, and that is fine. There's love, there's hate, we just haven't continued outside. And so that's what I mean as well. You
Mm.
can develop sisterhood, but you understand what it is that it basically it only lasts in the workplace.
You understand the context. You have
Relationship.
seasonal. You have gym friends, and you have church friends, and you have work friends.
Sometimes
You
you have
have
friends that intersect all of that, and sometimes you have separations
special
of
ones.
that.
Yeah.
So I think there's some
Mhm.
questions that you could. I don't know if you need that people have asked as well.
Mm. Oh, I'm not looking at the. Are you looking at
Yeah,
the
someone
chat?
said something. So
Ooh,
Denise
I'm
said,
looking at the chat.
Talisha, you started to engage your audience when Ingazi briefly stepped away. That was good to reach out to us and pose a few questions. So someone said that. So I
Mm,
don't know if you,
definitely. Let me.
I think we've answered
Yeah,
the
I do need
questions,
them.
but I think
Yeah.
if
No, that's good. You're better than me. I'm not looking at the thing, so it's great. You've touched on a lot of the questions. So yes, finally, I did say before. Do we have any other questions in there?
there's
I
any
think she
questions,
said
let
yes.
me
But in
know.
the meantime,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. So I did mention before, and for those that have been joining us, you know that my previous guest leaves a very thought-provoking question for the guest following up. And so your question comes from Arlene from Roots to for Roots. Absolutely amazing. One of my girlies. And her question was to you, Ngozi, when you are 80 years old
Oh.
and you're looking back on your life, what would you have liked to have done for your sisters in line with the sisterhood conversation?
I would have loved to make 1 million black women become rich. So 1 million black women make six figures or more, and he'll,
Mm,
yeah. I think we need more of us making money. Money is a we can't underestimate what money does for us as black women, um, and does
mm,
for us as a community, and does it. And when I say money, money with ease, not money in stress, not money that your
mm.
heart blood pressure is so high that basically you're going to die to enjoy the money. So I think, yeah, I want to help black women. One of the sisterhood. I want there to be more rich black women, more rest to revenue, more rich and rested. Shout out Yinka for that. Just more black women who are living a life where they can support their family and their legacy for forever. So that's what I would want to do.
I love that. And do you have a question you would like to leave my next guest based on our conversation?
That's a good question. Okay, I would like to know if somebody can answer this type of question. I don't know. I don't think of it. What? Oh yeah, why is so? Yeah, what is why is self awareness important for them? What has been self aware? Hopefully, the person is self aware.
Oh, the criteria, getting them to sign
You
up,
know
don't
what I mean?
worry.
But yeah, no. Why is self awareness important for them? Why is emotional intelligence? There are similar but different. But essentially, why is self awareness
Mm.
important for them? That'd be really really good to know because I'm very curious about that. Oh, yeah, okay, Nina. Yes, Nina. I love that. Right, I help nurses make six figures in California. I'm loving that. I'm loving that. Loving that. I'm loving that. Definitely, definitely.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, this has been a very thought provoking conversation. You've left me with a lot of food for thought. Yeah, and clearly, based on the response from the audience, they've enjoyed the conversation as well. Thank you so much for your time, Ngozi, and continue to do what you're doing. It's particularly with you branching into like the AI and how you've managed to connect AI and Black women and all these unspoken issues within that Black women face, both in and outside of the workplace, that just we just deal with and we've learned to deal with. You're really giving a voice to it. So thank you so much. And thank you for providing that voice today on the Unspoken series. Thank you for everyone that's tuned in. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I think we did. I think I enjoyed myself a bit too much. Hope you enjoyed yourself, guys. Look at you dancing. Hey, there you go. We have to say that for the after party. We're still live, guys. We're still live.
Just to let you guys know, True Tones is the first and only AI image generation platform that provides culturally nuanced images. So imagine creating an image with a bust down weave, of a Black woman, or creating images with locks, So it's going to be coming out probably next week or two, actually. So stay tuned for that, so that we can create amazing images that has been trained on the global majority. So most data set is trained on the internet, which is obviously very biased towards white. That's the reason why we struggle to get good AI images or images for your books, images for different things. But True Tone is changing the game for that.
Changing the game, for sure. Thank you so much. But we're going to have an after party now, guys. Don't mind us. Thank you all for joining us. See you at the next episode. Bye.
Oh, hold on. Oh.
We got another question.
No. I'll answer it. The LinkedIn user. I hope I can answer it in. So it'll be True Tones. I loved it. So truetones.ai. Don't go. If you go on it yet, you can sign up for the wait list. But True Tones, so TRUTONES.ai. But it should be out next week. So follow me, because I don't know the name, LinkedIn user. Follow me. I'll be announcing that next week. So we're just still doing things in the back end. And we're growing, because as a startup, you grow. You won't have everything ready completely, but we're going to be launching it next week, and we're just going to start rolling out different features.
Final thoughts? Any thoughts? Final thoughts? I'm so excited.
I can see you talking, girl. We won't stop. But thank you so much.
Again. People gotta go. They gotta go home. It's 5 o'clock. They gotta get home from the work. They gotta do the shopping. This was lovely. Until next time. Thank you.